One of the only shelves in my library that I can say that I've read every single book on is my romance shelf. It's what I started off with, and it feels the most familiar to me. It's definitely a comfort zone. Some of my absolute favorite 5-star books ever are on the shelf in this genre, so I thought it would be a good idea to read only romance for a week, starting off with rereading one of my 5-star reads. Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is a reread for me. I read it last May. Absolutely loved it, but was so overwhelmed by the fact that there was a new Emily Henry book that I kind of just blacked out the entire time. So this time I'm going a bit slower. I'm tabbing it up, I'm highlighting, and I'm already 125 pages in. So I'm gonna go continue it.
And though deep down I know I might be headed for teardrops. Now that you got me started, I just can't stop. No, no. 'Cause I love you, baby. I can't let you go, baby. I gotta tell you that I've been looking for.
I'm on page 170 now, eating some pink lemonade sour strips from Joyride. What a combo. Perfect poolside summer snack. Listen to this quote. This is just one of many. It always surprised me how quickly the ratio of his face could change. In a second, he can go from that broody, tender look to almost boyish delight. Every time his expression changed, I used to think the new one was my favorite, until it changed again, and I had to accept that whichever win was directly in front of me, that was the one I loved most. For sure. No, that's fine. That's just one of many amazing quotes. I know how quickly he scrubbed me out of his life. I don't want to know how fast he got the shrapnel out of his heart. Hello, shrapnel in the heart. Awesome. The tabs are racking up.
When I was down and out, along came you. Though you might be a liar and a cheat too, I just can't quit you now 'cause I love.
Hi Pookie, I finished Happy Place and I never reviewed it. Two things that stand out to me about this book is that I think it's actually Emily Henry's saddest book. I also could never remember the actual events that took place, and it's because it's very chill. They go to the grocery store, they get stuck in a wine cellar, they swim. I can't remember much past that. That's pretty much what goes on, but it's very summary, so angsty. I think this book is 5 stars because of the writing, but in terms of feeling connected to the characters, I think this one I actually feel the least connected to the characters out of all of her books, which I think is a pretty unpopular opinion. But I think the thing that caused that is because whenever she's talking about her past with Win, it's in a past tense verbiage. Like, we did this and we did that and then he did, but she doesn't tell it in a present tense, so it just makes me feel more detached. Emily Henry is perfect. If you would let me interview you, Emily, let me know. You can be on the channel anytime. I don't think any of us would mind. Okay, 5 stars. Goodbye. This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune, except my copy was a victim of my Stanley Cup. I had this on my bedside table and then I knocked over my Stanley in the middle of the night, but I didn't realize that until I woke up, and this book is what soaked up most of the water. But I know some people are gonna think this is crazy, but I kind of like the water damage. It feels so sturdy. In my hands, like every page is so fun to hold. But anyways, last summer I read Meet Me at the Lake by her, and the year before that I read Every Summer After, so pretty much every year I read her book. The theme that she has with these covers is absolutely amazing, and I think the reason that most people enjoy her books are because of the settings that they take place in. They're just perfect summery romance books. When I read this 3 years ago, it felt like a 5-star at the time. I've since adjusted the rating to like a 3, and then this one was a 2-star. I felt like she was just telling me things instead of showing me them, and I also didn't like that it was based off of a meet this guy one day and that's like the entire reason that you fall in love with him, and a little bit of overlap in timelines if I'm remembering correctly. And even on Goodreads, I've seen a lot of people say that this is Carly Fortune's last chance to not ruin her very atmospheric, beautifully written books with a dumb decision made by the protagonist, because there's really nothing else wrong in the books other than the really morally bad things that the characters choose to do. And that's such an easy thing for her to just not write. Like, you can make your characters do whatever you want. I feel like it's just what she uses to be the conflict and the driving force in the story, which usually it's like an external factor, not an internal one. Yeah, so I started this book very weary. I read 17 pages and I was like, I just don't want to invest in this book if it's gonna be like a 2-star read for me. But everyone who I follow and trust their opinions has been posting on social media that they gave this book 5 stars. It's their favorite book of the year. I want to give it a try. So I made it to page 55, and so far my favorite favorite thing about the book is the setting once again. This one takes place on Prince Edward Island, which is in Canada. I'd never even heard of it until I looked it up, and then someone commented on one of my videos that they've been there and a lot of the places in this book are real places. So she's chosen a great setting once again. I still feel like she makes her protagonist do something very unnecessary. You're just kind of mad at them and you're like, why have you done this? It's in the prologue, it's the first thing that you read, but she meets this guy named Felix at a bar. They end up spending the night together, and then she realizes that was her best friend's brother. And then we're gonna go back 5 years to the present when her best friend Bridget is getting married, and she has some forced proximity with Felix all over again. And Bridget's #1 rule is don't fall in love with my brother. So awesome. That's already going well. So that's our whole conflict so far. So I'm excited to see why this is a 5-star to people. It's definitely entertaining, so I'm not mad about it at all, but I need to keep reading to find out.
Yes, I do. I can't let you go, baby. I can't.
Good morning, guys. I made it to, I don't ever say guys, that just felt strange. Good morning, guys. I made it to page 150 last night, and I'm definitely invested in the story now. I really want to finish the book today. In terms of summer vibes so far, I would give it 4 out of 5 palm tree emojis. I do really like the setting. I think the beach at night is just always a great scene in a book. And the biggest conflict so far is that her best friend Bridget's wedding is supposed to be in less than a week, but she's suddenly forced her friend to come back home to Prince Edward Island just so she can hang out with her and her brother, and she just won't tell anyone what's going on. She's not talking about the wedding. She's usually super excited to plan it, and she's just gone silent about it. Sometimes she bursts into tears, and then she just says, I don't want to talk about it. So that's really interesting, and I really want to figure out what is going on. I kind of have a theory. It's a pretty outlandish theory, but I feel like it could be a good plot twist. So another thing I'm really excited to see what she does is, since the relationship between her and Felix started off physical, I am really curious to see how she convinces me that they're actually gonna fall in love, because typically I don't love the romances that start physical, but he is doing these really small gestures, like having her favorite protein bar in the car, or picking up something from the store that she loves that she can't get in Canada. And those little things, those acts of service, really do get me in books, and he's doing that so far. So it is also steamier than I feel like Carly Fortune normally does in her books, if I'm remembering correctly, but I'm only 150 pages in, and there's been 2 flashback scenes that are pretty spicy, so that's new. But it's a beautiful sunny Saturday, so I'm gonna go outside and hopefully just binge read and finish the whole book.
Baby, 'cause I love you, I love you, I love you. No, 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 no.
Morning. I finished Water Book. I actually finished it next to the water yesterday at the pool. My thoughts on this book are definitely a little bit disjointed, all over the place. I feel like because her book last year was a 2-star for me, I possibly went into this one with a more critical eye than usual. But one thing that I know for certain is that the summer setting on Prince Edward Island was absolutely magical, and I feel like she just kills it with the setting every single time. And honestly, most of the time when I'm reading a book, especially in the summertime, the thing that I care the most about is how atmospheric it feels. So she's been getting an A+ in that category every single year. The next thing that I was judging in the book is the secret that her best friend Bridget is keeping from her throughout the entire story is such a big pushing force of the plot that I really wanted the reveal of what she was hiding to be worth it. It definitely wasn't anything that I guessed. If anything, it was way, I don't know, it was kind of underwhelming in my opinion. I don't think it was like a total cop-out. It definitely kept me reading the book, and then when I found out what it was, it just kind of felt like, okay, why didn't you just tell your best friend that? And the same goes with her liking Bridget's brother. It's like, okay, why didn't you just tell her that? But I also feel like I don't really care that much. Like if it was any other author, I feel like I'd just be like, oh, whatever. So there were some definitely cute moments whenever the reveals were happening. And I think what I'm learning about this author in particular is that I really like reading her books for the atmospheric summer vibes, but it's something that I won't ever personally, not ever, but it's not something that I personally am like rooting for the characters and I love them together. it's more so entertainment. Because I do feel like there's two different categories of book in my head where it's like a book that's a 5 star is probably going to be something where I'm rooting for the characters personally and I really liked them and I feel kind of attached to them in some way. And then there's this category of book where I feel detached from the characters because I don't understand them or their motivations. I don't agree with their motivations, but I'm reading to see what they do. It's kind of like watching reality television. You don't agree with the way that they're fighting, but you're gonna watch them fight because it's entertaining. So that was this book for me. I think she's a great author. I think she's talented. I think I will continue buying her books. So I'm gonna give this a 3.75. It's not quite a 4 to me, but it's not a low 3, so that just feels perfect. 3.75. And I can't wait for the cover reveal of her next book because if it's anything like these, they're like little paintings. Next up, I'm now 52 pages into Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is part of the Lakefront Billionaires series. One of my favorite categories of romance books, not like my personal favorite, but like it's just so funny and I love that it's a thing in the romance genre, is the billionaire trope. It's just so ridiculous, but I find it amazing that people fully publish books under this trope and there's like a whole category of readers who will go and buy the book because it's fiction. Why not write him as a billionaire? You can literally do whatever you want and it's just kind of amazing. This is my indie romance bookshelf, which I think almost all of them used to be indie romance and now they're traditionally published because they got super popular. But this is my only other Lauren Asher book. This is The Final Offer. It's actually book 3 in her Dreamland Billionaire series. And I got it because at the time everyone was reading it and people didn't like the first few books as much. So I was like, okay, I can just skip this one, read it as a standalone. This is gonna sound so funny, but honestly, look at how pretty the pages are. Like this is half of the reason why I read this book. It's so cute when you want a summer vibe and it looks like this. I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for it. I picked it up and I started reading it. And I made it 70% through this book before the spice scene and then I dropped it and never finished it because it was way spicier than I was expecting. So now flash forward to this book in her new series. I've been told that it's not as spicy and every time I bring it up in my comment section, all of you guys say that you love this book and have given it 5 stars. Sarah and Destiny recommended it to me. So I'm very curious to see my thoughts. I haven't read an indie romance for quite a while. Like I said, I don't even know if this is considered indie romance anymore, but it definitely reads like an indie romance, which if you understand what that means, I feel like the vibes of them are just different. Like an indie reads differently than a traditionally published. I'm excited to see my thoughts. Like I said, I'm only 52 pages in and it's over 500 pages. So far what I've gathered is that this is about Julian and Dahlia. They used to know each other back in the day and then she was engaged for 9 years. That has come to a close. I think the TV show that she was on has come to a close. It was like a very popular renovation type TV show. So she's back in her hometown and her life just feels like a mess. She doesn't know what to do. And Julian's mom encourages him to try to convince Dahlia to work on a new renovation project with him, which he just wants absolutely nothing to do with. For some reason, whatever happened in the past is making him want to avoid her. So they're being very quippy with each other, being very rude. But the part that's cute is she wanted to stop for food on the way there and she gets out of the car to get it and he's just gonna sit in the car and wait, but then she gets nervous and she turns around and just acts like she doesn't want it anymore and he realizes without her saying that she was just feeling anxious about it, so he just randomly decides that he also wants that snack and gets out of the car to go with her, which is really cute, I have to admit. I wouldn't, I can't even say it. I wouldn't be surprised if the gutter started charging me. I wouldn't be surprised if the gutter started charging me rent with how often my mind hangs out there. That's funny. I'm on page 116 now, and what I originally considered ridiculous is now making me laugh. It's the enemies to lovers that's just so unserious. They used to be academic rivals when they went to Stanford, which academic rivals to lovers is one of my favorite tropes, but it's just not in many books. Maybe I should write one. They expect a charismatic billionaire who will wine and dine them around the world, but I'm not that guy. I prefer listening rather than speaking, quiet actions instead of elaborate displays of affection, and working hard to share my money with others rather than finding a way to spend it all on myself. Okay. I mean, that part's king behavior.
That part is king behavior.
Hi guys, I would just like to formally apologize for using the phrase king behavior.
Anyways.
I find myself in a strange situation and I'm wondering if you can help. He pauses and...
Classic. You may be wondering why I'm holding this book up when I haven't finished this one. I am 413 pages into this book. A 519 page romance book is a little bit absurd to me, especially when it's not because we're getting endless backstory, tons of emotional depth. It's literally just them pranking each other back and forth, which is funny and fine and lighthearted, but they got together at like a while ago. So I just kind of want the conclusion to be happening. And I guess if I keep reading it, it is. It's just a 100-page conclusion. So, I mean, okay, I really don't have that much left. I'm gonna go finish this part up. They've been fixing up a house together. Their families are really close, which I think is really cool. Something I would probably enjoy reading more of in stories. There's a lot of Spanish in the book, and then there's little cute footnotes that translate the word, which is fun. I get to put my 6 years of Spanish to the test, which sounds cooler than it is. I was like in 4th grade when I started, so I don't know that much. But yeah, I'm not disliking it. I'm probably making it sound like I am. All day yesterday I was reading it and the day before, so I think I'm just kind of feeling like, how have I committed this much time and I'm still on like the 3rd day of reading it when it's just this little tiny brick. My shorts match. Look, I have a purple theme going on and it'll match my crew neck a little bit. This is from Sarah and Destiny's podcast. I can't wait to wear it today. So cute. But yeah, I'm gonna go finish this and then we will discuss, but I also just wanted to show you that I had started the audiobook of The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, and I think the fact that I'm so excited to start this book has me struggling a little bit through this one, but I just have a really good feeling about this one, so I really want to start reading it. Let's finish what we started. This book tests in how fast I can skim read for real. I was gonna say I'm joking, but I'm not. Okay, I'm not skim reading. I'm not like skipping any of the parts. I'm just trying to read at my fastest capabilities because I feel stuck. Let me show you how, well, I don't want to spoil it. Let me see if there's a part I could read you that's like funny to read. I think I like Dahlia more than Julian. I just don't really like Julian that much, which I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you don't like the person that someone's falling in love with, probably won't like the book that much. Yes, they will overcome. Let's just do it a little faster. Oh, I'm joking, I'm joking. I feel mean. It's definitely fun. The scenes are fun and fresh, but I think this is teaching me, which I think we already knew this. Actually, it's kind of confusing because what I was about to say is that this is teaching me that I just really like emotional romances, but I also like funny romances. Well, the examples I was going to use are Lynn Painter and Catherine Center, but Catherine Center usually has some subplots of things that are pretty sad and emotional, and Lynn Painter does too in her young adult, and I don't like her adult romances as much because there isn't one of those sad, deep things. So I guess what I'm saying is I want something to be kind of heart-wrenching for me to love it. And it's not like this isn't heart-wrenching. Like, we know certain things, like she's trying to recover from a 9-year relationship, but you don't see it happen, so it doesn't really feel like, you do get flashbacks of the relationships, like you do get to see it in a way, but it just doesn't feel that emotional to me. I don't know why. I am thinking out loud here if you can't tell. Let me show you how fast I can read. Looks like the reality TV present family trying to kill it. There are the drops and it's still beside me in places. Whiskey, I have anything better to do with your time than others. Not really need a job. It's not really that fast. Okay, the book has been finished. After the last clip that you saw of me, I downloaded the audiobook and played chess while listening to it because that's how bored I got of it. I just couldn't read it anymore. And my official review of this book is that I have no personal qualms with it, and I don't even really want to review it negatively because I know a lot of people do really love this book and a lot of this author's work, and I totally get that. Like, in another world, a very tiny tweak might have made this book work for me, but it just didn't, and I don't really know why. So I don't want to berate it for anything. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the book. It just wasn't working for me. There are actually really deep topics in the book. There's depression, infertility, a lot of different things. So it's not like it's just a really fluffy book that I couldn't connect to. It has a lot of real life elements, and I still couldn't connect to the characters for whatever reason. So I think I'm gonna give this like a 2.5, but I didn't actively dislike the book or anything. It just wasn't grabbing my attention, and it just dragged on for so long. I wasn't having fun, so that happening for 500 pages just made me want to move on. So we're gonna do that now. I started the audiobook of The Paradise Problem. I love the narration so far. I haven't listened to a romance book on audio, I feel like, ever. The setup of this book is so funny. I don't even really want to explain it to you because I remember reading the back of this book and not really understanding what was going on, and that's because it is confusing, but it's a confusing in like a fun way where you get the reveal and things start making sense. It's very funny and lighthearted so far, and I think I'm about 40 pages in, and I'm already really excited to see where this book goes. So I have a really good feeling about this. Someone that I love gave this book 5 stars, and they are the authors of Love in Other Words, which is a book I like a lot, and I just realized I can't find my original cover of this book. That's actually gonna hurt my brain. Like, where is my original cover of Love in Other Words? I used to have a yellow cover. Do you guys see it on my shelf? That is going to make my brain hurt for so long. Where is that book? This author has written a 5-star book for me. This was in my top 3 romance books ever, so prospects are high. It's the next day after I started this book, and it was so good that I barely even got clips of me reading it or reacting to it because I read it so fast. I feel like this one is actually perfect for any vacation you're gonna go on. Beach, pool, great binge read. It's the perfect mix of funny, but still very serious things happening. Enough backstory for the characters for you to actually care about the plot moving along. And it's also about a really rich family and all of the crazy drama that goes on in like billionaire level private island drama. And a girl who is nowhere near that scene of people is struggling to pay bills, struggling to pay for her father's treatments, gets to go on this trip with this man and has to pretend to be his wife. That's as much as I'll say. It's much more complicated than that a little bit, but the reveals were really fun, so I feel like you should just experience them for yourself. And I feel like Christina Lauren, the two of them, co-authors, are just very experienced authors. Is this like book 30 for them? I don't know. I was reading the acknowledgements and they were talking about how 30 books in and we sometimes still fumble the ball. Crazy. They had 3 other terrible attempts that they wrote at first because they couldn't get the idea right. But yeah, I never really notice their writing whenever I'm reading because they're good authors and so it doesn't ever get in the way of anything. Yeah, I feel like this one was also spicier than their previous books, but I know that their backlist, I think they started off writing way spicier books, and then when they got more into traditionally published books, they like toned it back a ton, and then this one has a little bit more. I really cannot think of a rating for this book because I had a really great time and I can't really think of anything that I didn't like about it, but it's not a 5-star because I'm not really gonna like think about the characters that much after. But the thing is, I feel like a book should be able to be 5 stars just for it being fun, even though it's not like tugging at my heartstrings and I have the yearning feeling and I'm gonna think about it for years after. So will I just never give like a fun, happy book 5 stars? That feels kind of sad. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna give this 4.5 stars. It's very close and I would highly recommend it for the summer. So that's what I'll rate it. But that concludes all of the romance books that I read this week. We have 5 stars, 3.5 stars, 2.5 stars, and 4.5 stars. So really everything across the board this week in terms of romance. And I haven't really read this many in a row in a while, it feels like. So this was really fun, very summery. Let me know what romance book you're reading or which one you think I should read. And I will see you guys somewhere else on the internet. Bye!